That's the bike all got out of storage. It was easier getting it out than it was getting it back in, so I'm happy with that. I was running a bit bloody ropey. Hopefully it'll be running better now. Put a full tank of fuel in it. It was there for about 3 weeks. I had to drain the fuel out of it. I got it out, filled it with fuel. Well, didn't fill it, put the fuel in that I'd taken out. And then I stood there thinking, need to let the carburetors fill up, don't I? And I realised actually I don't. I didn't drain the carburetors, did I? So give it full choke. Press the button. Running. I think 2 spins. It was not quite as quick as it normally would, but it fired. Now just stopped and put fuel in. I filled it to the brim. Now I'm just going to get it home. But all in all, I think that storage was alright. I just left everything there. A bit tricky getting it to go in, but once it was in, that's fine. I left my helmet, my gloves, my boots, my trousers, my jacket, all there. All locked up. I had no hassle, just jumped a taxi. What's he doing up there? Now, I don't usually filter through Warrington on a rainy day. The reason I don't is because on one occasion I did it, a car in front of me stopped, I braked, I stopped as it happens, but my bike flipped out from under me. It was a GS 500, it's a Suzuki, and I don't think the tyres were the best in the world, whereas these are probably quite good tyres, and this is a Kawasaki, but I ain't taking no chances. I just want this bike back home, back in its little house, in one piece, ready for a sunny day. Because if we get one, I think I might get out. And the reason it went into storage was because I went away on holiday. Without the bike, with the wife and the dog, to France. We had 3 days driving to get to the Gite, 3 days driving to get back, and 2 weeks there while we were there. It was actually, the Gite itself, for what I wanted, was brilliant. The nearest village, if you could call it that, was about 3.5 miles away. The nearest cafe was about 3 miles in the opposite direction. So basically we were looking at nice and peaceful, especially with the swimming pool. It was big enough to hold about 35 people, and there were 11 of us there. And the dog. And it was peaceful. It's running a little bit better with this better fuel in it, so that's a good thing. Yeah, so on our way down we stayed in Ashford. Stayed in Ashford International Hotel. It was nice, really nice. My missus was well chuffed with it. She was expecting a cheap and nasty B&B because she knows me. She knows that's the kind of thing I go for, but this was a proper 4-star hotel. Put a big beaming smile on her face. Loads of brownie points for me. Then we got the Channel Tunnel. The reason we went for the tunnel was that if we take a ferry, the dog has to be in the car on his own, and neither of us liked that idea. Whereas if you take the tunnel, He stays in the car with you. In fact, he stayed sat in my wife's lap the whole way. And on our way down, we stopped at a town called Viersen. We had a Hotel Meyer, it was called. Recommend it to anybody. It was absolutely superb. And the French have a habit of putting their hotels on effectively an industrial estate at the outside of town. This was no different, but if you didn't look out your bedroom window, you wouldn't have known anything about it. There were trees and bushes and flowers all over the place. They had their own restaurant, and they had like little wooden cabana type things with tables and chairs in them, where you could go and sit down and have your dinner. And we had a cracking dinner. 3 courses, a few bottles of wine, quite a few beers. £200 all in, including the room. Fantastic. But it was a stunner. And again, nice big smile off the missus. The villa itself, fantastic location. There were a few issues with it. A bit rough around the edges is what I'd say settle for. Maybe even a bit rustic. Call it what you like. It wasn't 100% perfect. Check-in took an hour. Had to be shown around the entire house, how everything worked and everything. Check-out was essentially the same. They went right around the entire house, making sure everything was back the way that it had been when we moved in. And then off we went. We stayed at an Ibis hotel right in the centre of Orleans on our way back. I offended a few policemen by taking photographs of them. Offended them to the extent that they asked me to delete them all. What a bummer. But we had a nice meal. City was nice. And the next morning we had a few hours. We didn't really need to get away quickly. So we had a couple of hours looking around Orleans, in the pouring rain mostly. Lovely cathedral. Lovely statue of Joan of Arc. I think there's some history there, but I don't know what it is. I know Joan of Arc, of course. I think everybody knows Joan of Arc, but I don't know how she was related to Orleans. Whether she did some favours or something, I don't know. And I know she was burnt at the stake, and there is the sum total of my knowledge of Joan of Arc. And then we left there about, I don't know, late morning. And we headed off to Les Scales, about 7 miles away from Coquelles, which is where the Euro train goes from, Euro train station. And again, the hotel I picked was an absolute stunner. We got a disabled room, as we did in all of the others as it happens, but this was a disabled room. Again, a big disabled bathroom, they all have them. But right outside the door was a parking space for a disabled car. So how easy was that? Fantastic place. Across the road they had their own restaurant, and it was a bit different. It's quite easy to get a burger in France. Quite easy to get a steak. But I started off here with a fisherman's plate as a starter. Oh, should have seen it. I had periwinkles, cockles, mussels, bloody big set of snails. Don't ask me what they were, I have no idea, but they were huge. 3 oysters, a big prawn, heading for being a lobster, but not quite. But the claws weren't the usual kind that you get on a prawn. And about 9 or 10 giant prawns. We call them giants because in this country you don't get them very big at all. And then a ladle full of standard mini little shrimpy things. And I'm telling you, I was bloody happy. And I followed that up with a stewed beef that had been done in ginger. You'd never see the dog so happy. Handed him a little piece of me beef and it was gone in seconds. He just woofed it down, so I kept feeding him more. Share and share alike. And then it was the through pet passport control. I was worried about this because if we got it wrong, the dog isn't coming home with us. And I've no idea what we would have done in that case. As it happens, it was dead easy. I'd already had him wormed a couple of days earlier. I'd had his clinical exam done. So I wandered in, they gave me a little tag reader, so I read his microchip, handed it back. They gave me a piece of paper, stuck it on my windscreen, job done. Took about a minute. Really, really, really easy. Fortunately, I'm looking to change my bike gear. The reason I'm looking to change it is, as it happens right now, I've probably ridden about 4 miles and I am soaking wet. But I've had this stuff for quite a few years, I think. The trousers I've had since I went to the BSB for the first time. The jacket, I think I bought it about 6 months later. So I've had all of it for about 3 or 4 years. But I have enough money to look at something better. In case you don't know, I normally buy all of my stuff off eBay. My boots are from eBay. My jacket's from eBay. My helmet I got from J&S. My trousers I got from the British Superbikes, as I say. But I've got enough money there to be able to replace it all. I had a look at Richie Vida's video and he had a Ricker jacket, which he said never let any water in. So I looked at one of those, yeah, £500, think not. I checked out Dainese. They do the Gore-Tex version, but it's about £400 for that jacket. I could probably stretch to it. But they also do their own D-Tech, which is more like about £200 for the jacket. And I'm told they don't leak. So I think I'll be going for something like that, and new trousers. I think I'll keep my boots a bit longer, but I'll get new gloves. Probably stick with Dainese and probably get the D-Tech gloves if they do them. And that'll be me ready for next year. Maybe even ready for a ride out in the winter, especially if it's cold or, well, maybe not rain, I'm not going to do that. Oh, there we go. They usually slide on this roundabout even when it's dry. That was alright. And then we drove from the tunnel all the way home. It's not the nicest drive in the world. I describe it as pretty dull, pretty miserable. We came home to this. Yeah, great, isn't it? Bloody appalling. Had to wait, didn't it? Till I was on the bike. I'm not even joking here, I'm soaked to the skin. So I'm thinking if I pay Dainese for their D-Tech, I might have enough money left over to buy a tent. I've seen can't remember the actual make, but it's called a pup, and it's a pop-up tent. Pretty grim this, isn't it? Pretty grim. Are you stuck?
Yeah, I'm stuck in the water.
Okay, I think this policeman will come and give you a hand.
Right.
Yeah, she's properly stuck. Yeah.
I couldn't have tried to go through it.
I think it will have got into her engine, won't it? It's got a lever, hasn't it, to make it so it'll wheel.
It will, it's that yellow one on the back.
Yeah, there's a yellow lever somewhere.
Like a yellow thing.
Got it. Now it'll wheel. Yep, got it. There you go.
I don't know where I'm going to go now. Try and cross somewhere else.
Where are you trying to get to?
I'm trying to go through the car.
Yeah, it's alright, I've got one the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go. We've gone that deep in the water.
Am I okay to go and move my bike and get it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you alright?
Yeah, thanks very much.
No worries. Whoa. Okay. It's a bit deep there, love. Okay, now the drains around here are pretty bad. So I'm currently got me boot in about 4 inches of water, if not more or less. It's going to be one or the other, can't it? Oh, well, we're through it anyway, so. That's it, we're home. Put it into neutral, which I didn't do before. Oh, bloody hell.